Hello, my name is David Rippey. I am a certified hypnotherapist. I had a 30-year-old female client come to me looking for a past life regression. And for those not familiar, a past life regression is where I bring somebody into a deep, super hypnotic state where they can recall details of a previous life. The induction was left out. Follow along as she recounts a life as a male living in Nazareth at the time of Jesus. It starts at the end of her death and goes forward from there. Thank you. Please subscribe and let me know your thoughts. Okay, so you're kind of in this nothingness and floating around. Do you see any stars out in the blue, or is it all just pretty dark, or how is it?
So there's several spiraling, kind of almost looks like energy portals, kind of in every which direction.
Okay. Well, as you look at those a little longer, you drift down deeper and deeper. I want you to go up to those spirals, and do you go inside them or just kind of watch them?
Just kind of observing.
Okay. Now, why are you observing them? Any particular reason? You like they look neat, or what reason would you have?
Kind of like deciding which one to go through.
Okay. So how many are there roughly?
About 8.
Okay, about 8 of them. Now, are they all the same color? What colors they give off? Are they different colors, or what do you see?
They're all kind of a mix between like purplish blue.
Okay.
Some are lighter, some are darker.
Okay. Now, as you're floating out there in space, as consciousness, do you have a form of any sort?
No.
Okay. So you have no form at all. Do you give off any type of a color, or does a color resonate with you, or what are your thoughts on that?
No, I'm just consciousness.
Okay. Okay. Well, if we count down from 1 to 3, we're going to go 1, 2, 3. I want you to go up to one of those spirals, and which one do you pick out of the 8?
There was one directly above my head, which I chose.
Okay. And what color was it?
Well, that one was yellow.
Okay. Now, do you find yourself going up through it? Describe what it looks like on the inside as you're moving through it.
It's like really see-through, like it's not like physical, so to speak. It's more like just anything that's surrounding it, just darkness that's kind of somehow vibrating.
Good. And what else can you tell me about it? How long are you in it? How long do you stay in it, roughly?
Well, in that moment, there's not really like time.
Okay.
It just feels like a rearranging of things.
Okay.
Like it's nothing that could really be described.
I see. So there's not really any sense of time, and you're kind of going through this thing. Does it look like a big yellow glowing tube out in darkness? Is it like a wormhole of some sort, or a light tunnel, or what do you refer to it as?
Seems like a wormhole-ish.
Okay.
Like a portal to somewhere.
All right. Well, let's go on through it. And when I count from 1 up to 3, when we get to 3, you're going to come toward the end of it and tell me what you see. 1, 2, 3. And you're at the end of it now. And you're coming out of it. And tell me what you see then.
Really beautiful, dense forest.
Okay. And as you're looking at this forest, describe it in a little more detail.
I had just been born on the forest floor.
Okay. You were just born. Now, is when you were out in that space and that consciousness coming through that yellow tunnel, and you came to the other side and you were just born, Did you come from what area, what we might consider as heaven, or coming back to earth in another body form again?
Yeah, it was, this was after, so-called, heaven. It was after I had my time to write my contracts and,
Okay.
prepare my life.
Okay, let's look at that. Let's go back to that period. Now, when we go back to that consciousness, before you got in the tunnel, we got in this yellow tunnel. You're in this consciousness world. You're writing a contract. Tell me about the contract a little bit. Like who came up with that? Did you come up with that, or did you have help, or who? How did you come up with that?
This is okay. So there's a really thick book that holds the story of my soul. And I'm kind of choosing my how I want to evolve and where I need to go. So it's so I'm like reviewing this book, and there are a lot of beings. So it's kind of like a crystal realm. There's really tall gates and these like quartz crystal stairs, and there's 124 stairs.
Wow.
And they're very, very smooth, and I go up the stairs, and there are these golden gates, and they open, and there's a lot of different, almost like I don't want to say kiosks, but like little nooks where it looks like some, counseling is going on. There are, and I walk just straight, and there's a lot of beings, and there's like a review of sorts.
Okay, that's interesting. Now, as you look at all the beings, are they all different colors, or what do they look like?
There are a lot of different ones, but I can tell you Jesus is there.
Okay, that's interesting. Let's look at that. Let's go right there. Tell me, it said Jesus was there. Tell me about that.
Jesus was, we're like good friends. He had his hand on my shoulder as we were talking about the book of my life, or my story. And kind of giving me some guidance on, where to head to next. And it's almost like a college planning course, if you want to graduate at this time, you should take, this course and,
Interesting.
such.
Well, that's interesting. Do you describe what he looks like a little bit? How do you see him?
Kind of your typical white Jesus. I mean, he's got these very wide and gentle blue eyes, very, very blue, and but he's very angelic. Just emanating so much love.
Okay. And you've known him for some time, or do you meet with him and you come back, or how does that work?
Oh, I think we've been friends for a long time, and we have a close relationship.
Okay. Well, as Jesus there, kind of look back, did you have any lives you might have been in where he was Jesus on earth? Do you see any lives you might have had with him? Or mostly friends on the other side?
I I do believe I was in his life when he was on earth.
Okay.
I think I loved him very much, and we became very close.
Okay. And you see, do you remember what your name was?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, I mean, it could be anything. I mean, maybe you saw some familiar name. Now, did you meet him outside of some village, or where do you think you might have met him in that life?
I think I believed in him,
Okay.
and
Were you part of his following?
yes.
You were, okay. Now, did you follow him around village to village?
Um, I lived where he lived.
Okay. Now tell me that, do you have a name of the town that comes into your mind, or what do you see that, what would you say? I know it's probably in Hebrew or some other language, but what do you see, where do you think you were from, that maybe the town where he lived?
I do see Nazareth.
Okay. So it might have been in Nazareth. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I see a lot of stone and dirt buildings.
Okay. So you're there in Nazareth, and I guess you grew up there. Was he young when you were about the same age, or what was the age difference, you think?
We were close in age.
Okay.
I didn't know him until we were both adults.
Okay. So you were an adult, and how did you hear about him and his speaking, or how did you go to see him speak, or how did that work out?
There was like a big commotion, kind of. There was a lot of like kind of yelling and shouting and energy and a big crowd. And I was curious, so I went to see, and there was Jesus healing a little boy, kind of in the middle, and there was a big upset, kind of, that some people were like, wow, it's amazing, I can't, believe it, and this and that, and the other people were, just like, I can't believe you believe this guy, he's a, there's just a mix of anger and awe.
Okay.
And I was kind of on the awe side.
Okay, well, that's very interesting. And what color was your hair then? Do you remember? What did you look like, sort of?
I was a man, and I had dark brown hair. I had a beard, like a brown beard.
Okay.
I had dark eyes.
So you were pretty impressed with what he did.
Yeah, I was so impressed. I just started asking people what else they've seen, this man do, and I tried really hard to get to the people that he healed to ask them about it, about if it's real, and if how it felt and what happened, and I wanted to take in they were saying it was miracles, and that wasn't really anything that was a part of life before.
I understand. So you started, did you follow his ministry? And if you think about it in your mind, what do you think your name might have been then?
Josiah? Josiah?
Okay. Something like Josiah?
Something like
Okay. Well, if it comes to you, you'll know. That's not exactly it. So anyway, did you follow his ministry? You're about the same age. Now, did he ever meet any, did he have disciples around him then, or was that later on? Like, did he have any followers that kind of followed around with him all the time?
that. Yeah, they would have secret meetings.
Okay, describe some of those to me.
There was a lot of like focus and curiosity, and there was a lot of other people's minds that were curious and probing about what they knew or what they were discussing, and there was a big uncertainty about whether it was, witchcraft or dark magic, or if it was holy.
Mm-hmm. And you erred on which side? You believed what he was doing was holy?
I did, and I was just really curious about how, how it happened,
Mm-hmm.
and just the mechanics of it. I wanted to watch. Well, I did. I followed him around where he went to, because I wanted to observe the healings.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to try to understand, how that was happening.
Now, at that time, how old do you see yourself as, and how old was Jesus that he was around your age? How old were both of you, roughly?
We're about 30.
Okay, so you're about 30. Now, did you go from Nazareth to any other towns or any other cities? Did you follow him anywhere else?
I only did for short distances because I had a job that I couldn't leave in the city.
Okay. Now, what was your job in the city?
I worked with metal and stone. It appears to be making bricks or making parts of buildings.
Okay. Now, were you married at the time, or were you single?
I was widowed. My wife died.
You were widowed. Oh, that's a shame. And how did your wife pass away, if I can ask?
It was a disease. I just remember there being flies all over her, and she was...
Did a lot of people die from this disease?
Yeah, it was big. It was a lot of people.
Okay. So you met Jesus sometime when, how old were you roughly?
I was about 27 when I discovered him.
Okay, so about 27. And then you kind of followed him up till about when you see yourself at 30. And you're still right there going short distances to see him do his work, or I presume,
Mm-hmm.
or to speak. Now, is there anything that he might have said that kind of made you feel about, anything about reincarnation, or did he ever say any words about the soul? And what do you remember?
That life is eternal. It's everlasting. It's about, you can choose to be infinite. You can choose to be immortal, or you can choose to die and have that be it.
Oh, okay.
And you can choose to be immortal through being of service, doing good work, and putting your energy to good use. and having it kind of and carry on a legacy.
I see. And was that important to Jesus based on what you've learned or heard?
Yeah, it was. It was a major teaching.
Okay. And did you ever hear any quotes like knowing what you know now in this world as far as the Bible, or back then, was there anything else he might have said that you don't remember hearing now, or was just all his messages? Tell us about what his messages mostly were about.
It was a lot about human consciousness, and that there's so much more than just the concrete, physical, kind of that we had forgotten our divine selves and given into the darker ages, the dark. We had basically we had been beasts for too long when that isn't our divine nature, and that it's a calling that he came to awaken humans.
Okay. Now, he came to awaken humans, and did you witness doing some pretty miraculous healing type work, or tell me about that? Like what kind of cases, or what did he heal people of?
The boy that he healed, he was sitting on like a stone wall, and there was crowds of people around him, and he had this boy, maybe 4 years old, sitting on his lap, he was cradling him, and he had his hand over his eyes, and he was, I guess, praying or chanting, and then he waved his hand down like the boy's body, and there was something with his eyes, or with his cognitive abilities, and then it was he was describing what he was doing. He was locating the disease inside of the boy, and finding it and withdrawing the energy from it. So in a sense, like sucking it out and transmuting it into light.
Wow. And give me another example. Did he ever do anything with blind people? I mean, it sounds like this kid was maybe blind too, I guess.
Right.
Maybe something else. Maybe somebody that couldn't walk or died in front of them, or what else do you see? Or what else did you hear or witness?
He was saying that he can scan a patient or a person. He can scan their body to locate areas of whether it's hereditary or whether it's any kind of disease, even if it's a disease that's 5 or 10 years from actually manifesting within the person. He can scan to locate that, and if you put energy into it, it can spark it. It can set it off. For instance, a heart, disease or anything like that, or you can withdraw the energy from it.
Interesting. So he did that. Did you ever see him do something like walk on water, or do you ever see him disappear in front of you, or maybe you could see more than one image of him at a time, or did you ever do anything like that?
I never saw him walk on water, and I never saw anything like that. Nothing exactly metaphysical, but I did see him. He had this patience and just this total knowing that I couldn't help but trust him.
Okay. Now, did he ever say he was God on earth, or did you ever say that, or did you ever witness that, or did everybody just kind of accept that, or how did that work?
I never heard him say that he was God on earth. But he did attempt to enlighten his followers and the people that it is not just us, that he came from another place, not of this earth, and that he came here to help us.
Okay. Now, did he say, was he from somewhere else besides Earth, you said?
Yeah, he didn't...
Was it higher dimensional areas, or where was it? Was it a physical location, or was it higher dimensions, or both, or how'd that work? Or did he come from what you referred to earlier as sort of like quote-unquote heaven, or your consciousness? Did he come from some other higher realm of consciousness?
He is, he's not like from a race of beings or anything like that. He's one of a kind, he's just him.
Okay.
So he's a soul that grew to a point where he's ascended to a point where he is able to and wants to help us to ascend as well, to be more, to have a consciousness similar to his.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Did you ever, around Jesus, did you ever sense the presence of angels or other divine beings at any time?
It was a time where everything kind of changed once he started teaching and kind of became well known. Everything was just different. It wasn't the same way of life. It was hard to describe, but it was almost as if everything kind of transformed, and it was like everything that life was altered or got shifted.
Mm-hmm. Now you're saying this was when he became more well known?
Once I became aware of his existence and once his name was known.
Okay. So it went from being kind of a simple healing, traveling here and there and having fun, kind of light and carefree. When he became more well known, was it the Roman soldiers that were becoming more aware of him, or Romans, or the Jewish Sanhedrin, or was it about everyone that just started to say, hey, this guy's either, some people thought he was for real and others didn't, and I presume were darker clouds gathering for him from the ones that did not believe in him?
There was some kind of a divide between people, and even the landscape seemed to change. It was like a lot more like weather, like different clouds and different kind of weather patterns that were just kind of unheard of. Like, they didn't really, it just didn't happen that way before.
Interesting. So it seemed that even the weather was affected by this change.
Right.
And you said the environment, it just felt like it, like in the air, I guess, just things were different now. Is that what it felt like?
Yeah.
How did you feel inside when you felt this change? What did it feel like?
It felt like something really important was happening.
Okay, you felt like you were really witnessing something just beyond anything humanity's ever known.
I couldn't tell if it was like the end of days or if it was, yeah, it was clear that something that was very big was happening.
Okay. Well, let's see. You're both about 30 years of age. And I want you to go a little bit farther. Were you still following Jesus' career when it came toward when he was taken away? Do you remember that? Or did you see or witness that?
I don't know.
Did you sort of quit following him at 30 and just kind of heard about it later? Or?
No, I was there when he was carrying the cross.
Okay. And tell me about that.
There was nothing that, like, could ever have hurt me more in life. Like, there was no, it was the most painful thing, that could ever be witnessed or experienced.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, tell me about that. Were a lot of people around? What were the reactions? Or
it was just so deeply moving. There was such a mix of so many different emotions and actions. So many people weeping and just completely distraught, and a lot of violence, and people against other people, and then being taken away or being beaten or just straight up killed. And it was the only way I can describe it is a quivering moment, like a very, you couldn't relax in that moment. It was I just felt like I needed to scream, and I couldn't believe that it was happening.
Now, did you follow him? How did Jesus look at this time? What was the look on his face? Or could you get close enough to see that or not?
Yeah, he kind of looks like a corpse. He was very skinny and just like he had the life sucked out of him.
Oh, jeez. Now, did he have marks on his back and things too? Did you see any of that, or did he look like he was bloody?
He was naked, and there was blood dripping from a lot of from his eyes, from his ears, from various wounds, and it was. I don't know how he could carry that wood.
Did it look pretty heavy?
It looked like it couldn't even be done.
And somehow Jesus did it, though.
Right.
And was he carrying it for a long distance, or how long was he carrying that cross, do you think?
I remember him, I was in a crowd and I watched him walk where I was standing, and just so much, sweat and just body fluids flowing from, just every part of him. And just the smell was really terrible there. And it was very hot, and there was so much yelling and crying.
Now, did you follow it all the way up to where the cross was eventually stood upright, or how did that work? Did you go to that location?
I didn't follow, but I went later, and I came to the foot of where he was hanging there, and I felt his sweat drip onto me, and I didn't know if he was dead or not. He appeared to be unconscious, but I just cried and prayed, and I told him I was sorry, and a lot of other things.
While you were there, was there others around you that were also praying, or?
There was a long line of people, and each kind of waiting in line for their turn to kneel at the foot of his cross.
Okay. So there was a long line, and how many people were in line? Was it hard to tell? Just a lot?
Yeah, it was a lot of people.
Okay. Now, was there anybody else around? Was there soldiers around, or anybody else kind of watching the scene?
There were...
Who was in charge?
There were soldiers. They had these metal staffs or spears, and they were just watching.
Okay. Now, how'd they look? Was it just like a job to them, or were some of them upset, or what were your thoughts on that?
They didn't really seem very human. They didn't seem to have emotion.
Okay. Now, did you see, like, Mother Mary or Mary Magdalene or anybody else around, any disciples that were still stayed by the cross even with other people coming up? Or who else stayed by the cross besides the people just coming up for their brief time? Was there anybody in particular you might have witnessed?
No, I just remember it being my turn, after waiting in line, to kind of fall to my knees and express myself.
And how long do you remember waiting in line for? Do you remember?
A few days.
So you waited in line for a few days?
Overnight and throughout the days.
Throughout the day. To have your chance to say goodbye to Jesus.
Yes.
Is that right? Can you remember some of the things you might have said in your prayers to him? Then he'd stand
I
up.
said I will follow you, and thank you, and I love you. And that's all I remember.
Well, as you got up and left, did you go home back to Nazareth, or where did you go from there? Do you remember? I'm sure you're still probably very sad, obviously. And did it take a little while for you to recover over this, or did you ever get over it? Or did it kind of remain with you the rest of your life? And
I left the town. I think I had attempted to get a horse, but I was too poor, and so I walked. And I think, well, I left, and I think I didn't I didn't come to any more, any big towns. I stayed very rural.
Mm. And what did you do again? Did you go back to your previous occupation?
No, I spent my time in nature and I prayed.
Okay. So you spend your time in nature, and as you're getting older now, you kind of see yourself getting older. Did you go back and think of Jesus, or did any of his disciples speak that you went to go see speak, or how did that work? Like, did his message still continue on through your life, or tell me about that?
I actually, I died not too much further down the road. And just seeing that there was a lot of water, like a big flood, and I got wedged between these maybe trees or these big a raft, or there was a big pieces of wood,
Mm-hmm.
and I got killed that way.
Oh, wow. And how old do you think you were?
I was maybe 35.
All right. And what was so it wasn't too long after you had witnessed Jesus. What was your name again?
Josiah to something with a J.
Okay. Well, anyway, looking at that life and you've sadly drowned, do you see yourself coming out of your body right at death? Like, what do you remember right your last moments?
I remember knowing in that moment that I was going to die, that there was no way I was going to get out of that.
Okay.
And then there was darkness.
And there was darkness. Okay, let's go to the darkness. I want you to continue to drift down deeper and deeper, allowing all these memories to open up for you. And as all the darkness is around you again, and you're out in space, I presume, is consciousness. I want all that to start to dissipate away and open up. So you begin to see, and it becomes clear, and it's almost like, a gentle breeze is blowing away the darkness so you see again. And then tell me what you see.
I see a purple diamond.
Okay. Sounds pretty nice. Can you describe it to me a little bit?
It's not just a shape, but it's consciousness.
Oh, it's a purple diamond, like a consciousness. All right, and tell me about that. Describe it a little bit more.
It's a feminine consciousness. It's, I guess, a communication portal.
Okay. So you see that, and are you just watching it, or why are you there?
Maybe a message.
Okay. So you're kind of thinking maybe a message, but you're not. It's kind of pretty, and is it like a consciousness? Is that what you said?
Yeah, like a female consciousness, feminine energy.
It is a very wise and evolved. It is the purple color, kind of show that status. Or why is it purple?
I guess consciousness is purple.
Okay. So you're kind of looking at that, and kind of looking around. And where do you go after that? Where do you go from there? What do you see after that?
Nothing. I just see the purple.
Just continue to focus on the purple, okay. Now, does it have a message for you, or are you connected to it in some way, or is this where you returned after you died?
It is a place I've been to many times.
Okay. So you're connected to this to some way, is that correct?
Right.
Now, is there more than one consciousness associated with this purple-looking diamond, or what are your thoughts on that?
I'm just getting like a mother energy.
Okay. Now, can you go inside this crystal, or just get the energy from around it?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, as you're drifting down deeper and deeper, feeling more and more relaxed, can we maybe look at just kind of like while you got your mind closed? Like, can we bring Jesus into the room? Can you see him in the room now?
Yeah.
Okay. Does he look about the same as he did, or does he look better now that he's not carrying the cross, or what are your thoughts?
Yes, he's whole again.
Okay. Now, is there any angels with him? Can we bring in Archangel Michael, for example?
Yeah, any angel.
Okay. Now, what messages does Michael have, or let's say Jesus has for you, as far as in this life now, as Bodhi? Do they have any messages for you?
I just got very clearly remember who you are.
Okay. So remember who you are. And how do they think Bodhi is doing in this life? Do they have any other words besides remember who you are?
Remember the support system.
Okay. Now, what if we had Raphael and Jesus, and Michael, maybe go right around you, like encircle you as you're sitting there or laying there. And let's, you mentioned earlier that your jaw hurt and your neck hurt. Can we have, would Jesus put his hands on your shoulders, maybe on your jaw, and try to take away some of that tension or pain? Maybe kind of relax and relieve that TMJ. Allowing yourself just to relax more and more. Feeling yourself sinking down deeper and deeper as you can feel the healing energies in the room. And you start to feel it relaxing a little bit.
Yes, and Raphael wants me to remember that we work closely together and to not.
Okay.
And to remember to use him when I'm doing my work.
Okay, good. So Raphael said to use him when you're doing your Reiki work and things like that, right?
Right.
And any other angels that have words for you now?
Kuan Yin. Wants me to remember my bodhisattva nature.
Okay. And we'll describe what Michael looks like to us and Raphael. Describe them if you can a little bit. What do they look like in the room?
Michael has long, dark, black hair, and he's either wearing blue or purple, and well, their wings are just gigantic. And Raphael is green and golden. He has blonde hair. And they're very pure.
Okay. Now, is Gabriel and Uriel, could they join us too?
Yes.
Describe them to me, would you?
Gabriel has brown hair and hazel eyes. And he's wearing gold. And Jovial is wearing blue. And he has blonde hair and green eyes.
And that's Jolio, you said?
Jovial?
Jovial, okay. Are any of the ones in the room with us now that you hear their names in your mind telepathically?
Uriel?
All right, describe Uriel to us.
He has blonde hair. And he's very elegant. And what's the word? He's knightly or elegant and
Okay. Now, what about, we bring in Buddha and Confucius?
yes.
Okay. Describe them to me. What words does Buddha or Confucius have for Bodhi?
Buddha says, remember the lightness and to step lightly wherever I step, to step lovingly. And with love and just love and lightness and a deep caring.
Okay. Does Confucius have any words for you?
He said, remember to study.
Okay. Those are wise words. Now let's bring in Mother Mary. Can she join us?
Yes.
What is Mother Mary going to tell Bodhi?
She just put her hand over my heart.
Okay. That's all that had to be said, is that right?
Right.
Okay. Well, do you like having them all in the room with us?
It feels a lot better than not having them in the room.
Right. And you know that you can call on them for protection, right?
Right.
Okay. Well, as you're drifting along deeper and deeper, let's go back to the other side where you met Jesus. Can we do that?
Yeah.
Let's go back to what that version is where you met him on the other side. And what words does he have for you in that life that you shared in Nazareth? Oh, you said he was like a friend of yours. Does he seem pretty much his old self again after all that?
Yes, and he wishes that I would remember that he's always walking next to me, and it'd be nice if we talked sometimes.
Good. Now, do they all know me to some degree?
Yes.
What do they think? They think I'm doing okay?
They all laughed and said yes.
Well, that's good. So you like what we're doing with Bodhi today, and is her neck and jaw and her TMJ going to be looser as she listens to this recording again, and maybe he remembers these images of all the angels and Jesus and Mother Mary and all of them in her mind, and how she can bring them in when she feels stressed or anxious, and what kind of help her on her way.
Yes.
Okay. Well, as we count, we're going to count from 1 back to 5, and I want to ask Bodhi in her divine self. Do you see any more clarity today as a result of this session?
Yes.
Do you feel more relaxed? And I want you to go home and feel uplifted, feel happy, remember the images that came to you,
Yes.
and all about the Holy Book. And before we finally just drop completely off, is there any lives that stood out to Bodhi that she remembers, maybe on Earth or off Earth, that meant a lot to her? Is there any particular life that we can just look at real quick?
Each one really had its significance, and nothing would be the same without it.
Okay. So each life built upon each life, is that right?
Right.
Now, do you see, like in your mind's eye, because we kind of know that, you saw all those different colors of souls before when you're on the other side. What color would Bodhi give off if she gave off a primary color?
Well, there's like a lime green,
Okay.
but there's also jaguar fur.
Like a jaguar's totem?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any other totems that are important to Bodhi in this life?
There's a lot of animals.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you feel pretty grounded with the animals, with the rocks. Any particular crystals that maybe the angels or Raphael tells Bodhi that's good for her to have, keep closer in this life? Does anything come into your mind?
More rose quartz.
So more rose quartz around you, is that right?
Yes.
For you to wear it also as a pendant?
Yes.
Okay. And any other ones that might help in her healing work that come to you from, say, Mother Mary?
Citrine and amethyst.
Okay, citrine and amethyst. That sounds good. Now, do you feel your neck's a little bit more relaxed? Do you feel your shoulders allowing the golden light?
Yeah.
And just kind of constantly work its way all through your jaw?
Mm-hmm.
So it feels more relaxed. That's good. Well, does Bodhi have any other questions for this session?
No, I think I'm complete.
Okay. Let's count from 1 up to 5, and each time we count, you're going to feel yourself waking up more and more, feeling more and more awake. So